The Grove Podcast.
Hello, my name is Tabs and welcome to episode 199 of the Grove Podcast. Now, thank you for listening and I hope you're all doing well. And so, the Arsenal are back. The champions are back, attacking their title defence with a very nice, comfortable, stress-free 3-0 win against a willing but ultimately very limited Coventry City. And given last week's 3-0 win against City, let's hope this trend continues for the City being Manchester City, let's hope this trend continues for the next 30 games. I mean, if we can play teams that are called City and playing Sky Blue, we're going to be walking this and have it won by December. But unfortunately, that's not how the league works. Anyway, so in today's pod, we will be looking back at the Coventry game and the various talking points around that. And joining me today to do that is Andy. How are you? And do you think 3-0 is the new 1-0 for the Arsenal?
It wouldn't be too bad, would it? It'd be what? How many games did we play? 60, 65 games. So that's what, 180, 200 goals a season? That sounds perfectly fine to me. Tab 0 conceded. No, it's just when you were saying that, it made me think, like, obviously Arteta and his famous light bulb moment. Maybe the plan for the like before game is just to mark out Aston Villa and just call them Aston City or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, but no,
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Very good. Looking forward to, I was incredibly pleased with what I've seen, especially in that first half yesterday. So looking forward to getting into it.
Get into it indeed. And look, we would all take 3-0s over the 1-0s because I think or winning by one goal, because I think last year we won 14 games just by a single goal, which, just no good for the nerves, the heart rate and the blood pressure and all that. So yeah, and look, we all predicted 3-0, me, you and Ian. So we got our Nostradamus on pretty good then. So let's hope our season predictions for the rest of the season are as good as that. And it seems, because we're recording 3:30 on a Saturday afternoon, so I've got Sky in the background, so I'll be giving you live updates, and by the time you listen to this you'll know what's happened anyway, but I'll still be giving you live updates of what's going on. But it seems like beating newly promoted sides is not for everyone, given that Man United got spanked 2-0 away to Hull early on in the day. So Michael Carrick and all that jazz, you've got work to do, and you haven't even started playing in Europe yet. So it's been a good day so far. Anyway, so on to last night. Before we get onto the game, and before the game started and earlier in the day, the Konsa signing was completed and made official, and he was introduced to the crowd in the traditional Arsenal top and baggy trousers pre-match. So it's good to have this done. The fee might be higher than we would like, maybe by about 10 million, and were it not being Saliba being injured, maybe our defensive summer signing would have been maybe a younger profile, more of a right back. But as we've all said, it was absolutely needed. He's good, very good, even not elite, but he offers similar traits to Saliba. But when fit, Saliba starts, so it's a bit of an insurance policy signing for us. One question that's already sort of been doing the rounds: do you start? And look, we're talking about game in 10 days, and we're going to talk about Coventry. But would you start in v Villa?
When's that game? Is that next Monday?
That's next Monday. Bank holiday Monday. 10 days time, or 9 days today, but 9-10 days.
I mean, I was pretty happy with Mosquera's performance last night, and pretty happy with his performance against City the week before. Like, I don't think he's necessarily done anything to warrant getting subbed out. I would definitely bring Konsa in onto the bench. But no, I think Mosquera's been like, there was a point last season when I was a wee bit worried about Mosquera. It was in and around that kind of post-Christmas, early March period. There was a few. I remember a game against Brentford, and he looked a little bit stretched and a little bit stressed. But I guess that's the kind of benefit of having like another 3, 4, 5 months in with the team. Just get a wee bit more comfort. You can't expect somebody coming in from Spain at that age to come in and have an absolute stormer of a game every single week, especially when, although we're all quite rational people, your eye still expects to see William Saliba in that position, so he's kind of onto a bit of a loser anyway, until you kind of remind yourself, like, you're like, oh no, of course, like he's not nobody is Saliba, and you can't expect a younger player to be that. But no, I've been pretty happy with them last night. Obviously not up against the sternest of tests, but I mean, Coventry were pretty pretty high scoring in the Championship last year, and there were certainly a few moves in the second half that suggested they could have potentially got a goal. There was some really good interplay, I thought, in a few moves. So, yeah, I'm very much one of those people, Tabs, that don't change a winning team unless you absolutely, obviously have to as injuries. So no, I would just stick with Mosquera at the back for now.
Yeah, no. What I did like yesterday was they brought on Awoniyi. I find it hard to pronounce. The guy from Forest. We know who we're talking about. And it was a really good battle. And he went straight for him. He goes, Saliba or Mosquera? Saliba? No, not Saliba. Mosquera or Gabriel? Mosquera. Which one shall I go towards? And he was the two of them battled for like 20, 30 minutes, and Mosquera won the battle. It was quite a physical one, quite a tussle. They were playing the ball out to him as an outlet, and he looked pretty good. Or if he got done, he does have good recovery pace. And I think you mentioned the Brentford game. Yes, he may not have been optimal in terms of some of his defensive movements, but his recovery. There was that one recovery tackle he did on Thiago when he was like clean through after getting skipped. So I think he has that recovery pace. So no, I think he had a decent game yesterday, and then when he was properly challenged, he stood up to that challenge. So yeah, I'm with you. I would even if it's 10 days, you're right. This is the back four that we expect to play. That's been playing most of the pre-season or Community Shield in this game. So you're right. I think the best thing about that is the fact that Konsa's not playing for Villa, and we discussed last time that when Konsa's out of the Villa team, that their win ratio drops quite a bit. So I think that's just by just taking him out of their team and putting him on our bench, that's a big difference. So look, he's experienced. Talking of Konsa, he's experienced. He's been playing in the Prem for about 7 years now. He knows a lot of the team already from the England squad. So I think his bedding in period will be minimal. And the main thing is just to get him up to speed, from a pre-season perspective, because he only returned, I think, the Monday just gone. So I think he can sort of, if he was to start, fine. I don't think it would be an issue, but I would suggest maybe just keep him out of that one and keep him on the bench. For now.
One of the things I did notice though, and kind of throughout this week, as he's kind of getting announced and stuff like that, is you can tell he's a real squad man. Like, he's obviously knows a lot of players from his England days, and particularly him and Emirates seem to have some relationship from either England. I don't know if they've played together in the past, maybe.
And Saka as well. Him and Saka also have a good relationship.
Which is incredibly important, especially when you're not coming in. Like, he's obviously in a Premier League elite centre back, and he's an England international. And he's kind of almost not coming in as a starter for us. He's coming in as like a slight utility player between right back, centre back, and because once Saliba's back fit, he'll walk back into the team. And if you've not got a personality that is quite kind of affable and gets on with everyone, I'm not saying there might still be some issues there, like later on in the season, you never know, but having that kind of almost like those bonds within the dressing room already will help to reduce kind of potential friction later on down the line if he's not getting the game time he's maybe expecting. So I thought that was pretty good. And I thought as well, when you're bringing in these kind of plug and play players, these ready-made Premier League starters, you're always kind of bringing them in with a view to, and you're looking at how the kind of incumbents in that position are going to react within the squad. And I thought Ben White's performance last night was fantastic. He's obviously he certainly seems to have put a lot of his injury concerns behind him, touch wood. And I don't know, like, even if it's only 1%, 2%, getting Konsa in and being like, your place isn't guaranteed. You're up against Timber, you're up against Mosquera, you're up against Konsa now. I thought his performance last night was brilliant. And if 1 or 2% of that is contributed by getting a plug and play player in like Konsa, then all the better.
Indeed. And you're right. Ben White, excellent performance yesterday. It was like the Ben White of old, from a few seasons back. And actually, there was a lot of Arsenal yesterday was like the Arsenal of like 2-3 seasons ago. But particularly Ben White, I think he only has one setting. It's either kaput or 100 miles an hour type stuff, and I wanted him to chill out. I mean, we're watching him second half, like his 70th minute. Ben, Timber's still injured. We need you, but he was bombing. He can't help himself. He just keeps on running. He was overlapping, getting up the pitch. And I would have liked him to ease off a little bit, but yeah, no chance with Ben. That just seems to be his mode. But you can see sometimes when he does start to tire that getting back is a bit difficult. And there was a couple of times you could see he was a little bit tired where he was easily got past. Now luckily Mosquera was behind and Gabriel was behind, so it didn't make up too much difference. So he's one of these ones that for some reason he's got all the energy in the world to go forward and overlap and all the rest of it, but getting back sometimes looked like he's running through treacle. But and that's something that maybe you don't see on TV so much, because if he's not near the ball and the focus is elsewhere, you're sort of watching him go back, and it is quite funny. But no, he was. I think like the whole team yesterday. Everyone had a superb game. So yeah. So talking of the Coventry game, and let's start with the lineups. Raya in goal, and it was pretty much as we expected. So bar one or two, Raya in goal, White, Mosquera, Gabriel Calafiori at the back, Rice, Lewis Skelly, Ødegaard, and Zolis, Havertz, and Saka. And I think, yeah. What did you make of that lineup? Any thoughts on it? I mean, I think we expected Bruno G to be there, but it seems like he picked up an injury. So welcome to Arsenal, Bruno, and I guess Saka starting as well. Given as well start. So anyway, what did you make of that lineup? Any thoughts on it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like you said. It was as expected. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I think we were all almost targeting the end of that, almost at the end of that international break that's coming in September, to see the likes of Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka back in the starting 11. And I don't know, maybe we'll pay later on in the season for them playing in these sorts of games. You never know, but I don't know. I personally take a little bit of confidence from the fact that they're back and they're playing. Like we've said it numerous times, we obviously don't know what's going on, and I fully trust the kind of backroom staff. There was actually something really interesting that came out on Twitter the other day. It was maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it was basically alluding to the fact that we had a top striker target last year, and we ultimately didn't move on him because they have these like 4 or 5 people who collectively arrive at transfer decision, and collectively they agreed that Arsenal would basically break him. And it was quite obvious they were talking about Alexander Isak, and it kind of just, although I would have loved to have Alexander Isak in as our starting 9 last season, I wouldn't have liked to have an Alexander Isak that played half the games. And it would have been like, I know he ended up like not really playing that much for Liverpool, slightly different injury. We would have probably worn him out rather than like what ended up as just an injury for Liverpool.
Just a contact injury, some shite Tottenham defender just cleaning him out. Yeah.
But like that almost like in a weird way gave me some confidence around like the fitness of like Saliba and Declan Rice and Saka, because sometimes you're kind of there, especially last season when we're playing like the 6th, 7th, 8th game in the Champions League, and you see a starting lineup with Saka and Rice in it, and you're like, God, just give them a break. But they obviously are having these discussions in the background, and it just gave me that little bit of tiny amount of kind of like, it was just that increased certainty that they are taking these decisions with the players' health as part of it, and it kind of got me off the ledge a wee bit, because I think. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't have expected to see those players in the starting lineup until at least September. But the fact they're in there makes us a better team. We're a far better team with Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka, and that's not a mental thing to say. And yeah, it just like there is always that risk we're going to run them out. But yeah, that was the slight surprise, but almost like not that surprise this season.
Yeah, I think with Saka, I think it's a good thing. It shows he's fit and he looked fit. He's ready to start. With Rice, maybe if Bruno had been fit, maybe Rice would have rested. I think the reason he came on second half last week, I think he was due to come on the last half hour, a bit like Saka, but he had to come on early because Bruno was injured. But it seems like the Bruno injury is, there was reports that it might be weeks, but Arteta said no, it's not going to be weeks. And maybe there's an element. I think with Bruno, we were talking in the pub yesterday. Maybe with Bruno, there was a sense that his personality is that maybe in training he was going to, again, we're basing this on nothing. Yeah, but we were thinking that maybe in training, because he wants to impress himself, he's coming to this team, wants to prove himself, his character, maybe he just overdid it in training as well, and he just didn't want to sort of ease up there and things like that, and that maybe had consequences. But again, it's based on nothing. It could have been just a knock in the game, but it wouldn't be too much of a stretch of an imagination if you could see him like, charging around in a good way, just trying to, there's 100 other midfielders here, and I need to get into this team, and I've got to show them who's who, and I'm up against the likes of Rice, Zubimendi, MLS, and stuff like that. As good as my reputation is, I haven't got one at Arsenal yet, so there may be an element of that. And I think there's also an element of not taking any risks. What's the point of taking any risks when we've got such a strength and depth in midfield? So no drama. So I think maybe Rice was the one that might not start, but hey, he looked good and he played a good 70, 80 minutes. So that was no bother.
I think
what was interesting before when they were gone.
I was just going to say, there's that element of like, there was a couple of comments in his like opening interviews and stuff like that about like Declan Rice messaging him and him apologising and stuff. It was almost like this. It wasn't awkward, but it was like he's obviously been a very confrontational player against us in the past. Like we all remember the Jorginho and it was almost like it wouldn't have surprised me if he then came in with like, you've always got a point to prove going into the Premier League champions. We all know what he's done. Like at the domestic level and internationally, I thought he had a good tournament for Brazil, but he probably had an extra bit to just prove and try, because he was trying to win people over that he's actually pissed off in the same way that Konsa, not really. Like he's probably came up, he's maybe had a tussle with Gyökeres or something last season, but I can't think of anything in the same way that Bruno for 4 or 5 seasons, it seemed to be every game, he was charged up. He obviously wanted that Arsenal move, and he was a part of a Newcastle team that thought they were our challengers for a good few seasons there. So it was like, it wouldn't surprise me if he was going too hard in training and he was trying to just prove himself and win himself over into the squad a little bit, which he probably didn't have to do, but at that level, you're just so competitive and it wouldn't surprise me if there was that.
No, and I'd rather have that than the alternative, and we've had plenty of those in the past, so it's better. And I said we've got numbers in midfield, we've got quality midfield, and so there's no point risking it. And there'll be plenty of minutes for him, and Rice will sit down, he'll get in, and that's no problem. What was interesting yesterday when they were reading out the crowd, MLS got the loudest cheer, and significantly so. He was the last one to be cheered because of his number, last one to be read out, and he got a huge cheer. And just in terms of also the lineup as well, maybe I think it's a case of we're preparing for Villa and Chelsea, so get them in early, and get this maybe the team that faces Villa and Chelsea. This unit, maybe one change out, but I can't imagine him changing his starting 11. Maybe Bruno G comes in, but then who goes out? Don't know. But I think also a lot of this was that Coventry's a good game to set us up for Villa and Chelsea, which should be harder games. Another thing to note was that. It's only happened. So is it having Saka, Ødegaard, and Havertz start? I think it's happened only 2 times. It only happened 2 times in all competitions last season, and it's only the second time since December 2024 in the Premier League that those 3 players have started together, which is insane. And look, they all scored as well. Those 3 all scored. So it's and look what a difference it makes not having these quality players in on a regular basis. And no wonder we could potentially look turgid, or it's hard to get numbers of goals. You look what happens. You play all 3 of those guys, and we 3-0, and is reminiscent of 24-25. Or that was the season where we just went nuts. January to April sort of thing. So great to see. Great to see those 3 on the pitch, together. So massive difference.
Definitely. And I think we didn't really touch on it when we were doing those predictions a couple of days ago, but it was such a feature of last season about Havertz get injured in the first game against United. Saka was barely fit all season. Ødegaard felt like he was carrying, and he actually referenced that in some of his interviews yesterday. He said something interesting. It was like injuries and weird moments or something. I can't remember exact words, but it was basically weird moments, as if there was something personal going on, or I don't know, quite something that maybe was he couldn't quite explain. And I don't know, you never want to over-index 2 games, but he looks like a completely different player. Like yesterday, just running it, just taking the ball, putting the ball at more risk, which in that position you need to do. he just seems freed. And like he's able to do that because Ben White's firing on the right. Calafiori was absolutely fantastic last night. He's offering such a like a unique like those runs and the way he was actually dovetailing with Solis. I thought last night, but gone to him, he's incredibly surprised me. Like I obviously didn't know that much about him, but wow. And it just looks as if the burden isn't on Ødegaard anymore, and that's just giving him that extra 5-10%. He looks back to the player that we'd originally signed when he had that baby face coming in from Real Madrid, and then that half a season when he came in, and then those 2 seasons after that, he looked as if he was on his way to that De Bruyne level of football. And then for whatever reason, injury, we always go back to him having a kid, like as if that was some big thing.
And also, I think there was rumours he changed his diet because he looked like we were joking last year. He needs to eat a burger. He needs to just have some fat food just to get some meat on those bones because he started to look too gaunt. So there was there's no strength in there, and from a personal experience or having, you know, I've done endurance sports, so like, you know, long distance triathlon, Ironman and marathons, and what I put it akin to, like marathon runners, they need to be skinny and stuff and lithe and all the rest of it. But when you do the Ironman, like the swim, the bike and run, you actually being heavier is better because you need to be a bit robust, and he felt like he lost that robustness. Robustness in there because having a bit of extra meat, having a bit of extra muscle just protects the body a bit more, makes you impact is you can absorb more impact and stuff like that. You're not so fragile. Where you can imagine a marathon runner, you just sort of they fall over in a light breeze and their bones will break, sort of stuff. So and the baby, I think. Yeah, a lot of personal circumstances. A lot of people forget that, and there's been some recent stories about other footballers and what it did. The personal side of things does impact you. Having a baby does impact you. Your sleep, you don't know what happens, and all the rest of it. So, they are professionals to do the best, but sometimes life gets in the way as well. And if you're not able to perform optimally, and then you compound all that together, you get like he's had for the last 2 years. But then everyone quickly forgets he was player of the season for the previous 2 years before that. So I think maybe we're getting back towards that. And he was in full conductor mode yesterday. He was leading the press. He was linking everything, creating, controlling the tempo. Scored the third goal. And what I liked about that goal was the fact that his positioning, the fact he was there. Often last season would be too much on the edge of the box, too on the periphery of things. In the Charity Shield, he had that sort of sliding tackle chance at the end of the first half. He scored the goal last week, being in an attacking position. Here, he's like edge of the 6-yard box. Mm-hmm. That's unheard of for Ødegaard in the last few seasons. So it's great to see him there.
His smile was back as well. I mean, obviously it was quite a cheeky goal against City when he sat Donnarumma down, but I think before he'd even put the ball in the net, he was smiling. And last night, it's always a bit of a fortuitous goal, and there's a little bit, but he was smiling again. And it just feels that for the past couple of seasons, we've not had a smiling Martin Ødegaard, and obviously there's various reasons for that. You've kind of touched on probably most of them there. But it's just so important when to actually enjoy your football, because at that level 5% makes such a difference, or even 2% makes such a difference, and to be back enjoying it and feel like he's he doesn't. I think last season we struggled so much to get the ball into the dangerous areas that he took on. He was dropping out to collect it from the centre backs or from Declan Rice or from Zubimendi. He was just too far away from goal. And now that we've got Havertz back, now that we've got Saka back, Ben White's back to seem to be doing his buccaneering stuff, we've all went up a level, and we've kind of lost that monkey off our back. We've talked about it a couple of times. It just seems to have given him back this freedom that we had a few seasons ago. And if that is, again, it's 2 games, but it's if that is what we have for this season, you're almost thinking I would still want a forward to come in within the next couple of weeks, but that, having those players, if you could guarantee those players fitness and a happy, fit and firing Martin Ødegaard, that is worth an extra 10 points this season, guaranteed.
Yeah,
anyone else.
And it's options. It's options. Also, he comes in and out of the season, and and then suddenly he's playing with Gyökeres, which is different to Havertz. And he's having to work that one out. Then he's also playing with Madueke, which is very different to Saka. And again, this is more about Saka than Madueke. So next to him, okay, got Rice and Zubimendi, great, but so it's not he. Finally, he can do himself, but I think everyone looks better around other players. There are certain players that are fine. Doesn't matter who around them. Like, you get a Messi in there, and it doesn't matter who you're playing with. He's going to look amazing. But sometimes you just need those options, those combinations to help and that bring the best, basically to bring the best out of you. So that doesn't mean you're not a good player, but having other options around you, they make some of the passes work. They make the runs that you can find and stuff like that. So I think that really helps having just these players now. This is the thing now. We just need to keep these players fit, and that's 2 goals in 2 games for him. He only got 1 goal last season, so he's already got 2. Okay, Charity Shield, blah blah blah, but whatever. So it's still 2 and 2. We can have that sort of attacking threat, that intent. And it'll be really really helpful for the whole team. And it was funny what you were saying about Calafiori, because I know we've discussed this, and I'm not calling you out here. And you didn't like the fact that he was basically our attacking creativity, or he was our attacking. I can't think of the word, sort of wild card. Wild card or whatever. But he was the only one. So I understand why you would say, well, why? But now him doing what he does in conjunction with everything else, it just adds a layer to all the other layers we seem to be building in terms of our team, sort of thing.
Exactly, and that was never my point. Was never like, if our left back can do that, give me that every week, that's absolutely fine. But we were almost like that was the first solution. It felt like a few times last season, whereas now the first solution is back to Ødegaard, Havertz, Saka, and Solis, who was absolutely on fire last night. And if Calafiori, who is one of those mercurial talents, mercurial players, if he's like the complementary factor to that being your primary style of play, sign me up every day. I was just getting a wee bit concerned last season that the left back was almost given the primary creativity, and I was like, oh god, this is awkward. But again, probably was just horses for courses back then, and we were struggling. And we were trying anything that would work. So I was maybe a wee bit harsh on it being like an actual game plan in the medium term, as more opposed it was just a short term thing to try and get stuff to work in the short term.
No, absolutely. So, and look, we've talked about the people that were starting and on the pitch, but I would suggest that actually a lot of the biggest talking point might have been around who was on the bench, and I think this is going to be a major talking point throughout the whole season. Like not just who makes the starting 11, but who makes the bench, because with the squad that we have, and there are going to be some big names missing out, and look. And primarily, primarily the one to miss out yesterday was Martinelli. Again, he didn't make the matchday squad for the Community Shield. Didn't make the matchday squad yesterday. And I don't know, did you see the interview with Ian Wright? And he was did you see Ian Wright talk about this?
Yeah, but I've heard the kind of, there's an insinuation that the communication broke down, or he's not been spoke to properly or something.
Yeah, he was quite strong with it. So there was 2 aspects to it. One, and he seems to be has some internal knowledge of what's going on. Martinelli's not been spoken to, doesn't know what's happening or why, and he was calling it out, to be disrespectful for someone that's been at the club for so long, that's given so much. Look. Managers don't always speak to all the players all the time, so you may go 2-3 days without actually speaking to the manager, because they may be taking the training, but those are 2-hour sessions, controlled, all the rest of it, talking about that. You may not have a chance to sit down and talk about your place in the squad, which is basically what this is about. And I think this happens a lot. Players sometimes don't understand where they stand, what's happening. And maybe there's 2 ways. One, there's an onus on Arteta to tell him. There was also an onus on the Martinelli to ask the questions. Whether the manager's available to do that, don't know. Maybe ask the other coaches. So yeah, I can fully understand why he may not have been spoken to. Do you think it is? If this is the case, do you think it's a bit disrespectful? Do you think it may is potentially be an issue? Do you think basically he's out the door basically?
Well, it does. I mean, the first thing that's just jumped to mind is that if we haven't been speaking to him, and whether it's an Arteta thing or a Berta thing or someone else, you must be hell of a confident that you're getting a replacement in. Because if we don't get a replacement in on the left, you need Martinelli. We can't go in with just Solis, because Solis was brilliant last night. But one thing we absolutely cannot do is run that boy into the ground so that in December he's fucked. Like, but if he is being frozen out's too far, but if he is being kind of sidelined, you must be hell of a confident that you have someone coming in that can play that position. Or maybe it's Eze, I don't know. But
that's the other one.
Yeah. In terms of being, do I feel uncomfortable about it? I mean, ideally it would work and you would have that communication, but the priority is getting. There's obviously something going on in the background. He's been offered out to Galatasaray. I'm sure there's offers from other leagues. It sounds as though Saudi Arabia might be one of them. There's obviously people at the club don't think he is a part of the squad for next year. And I come down on a slightly different way in terms of he's given so much to the club. Yes, he has, but we've also given him a hell of a lot. Like, it's a reciprocal relationship. Do you know what I mean? He came in from the Brazilian second tier, and we've given him a hell of a lot of cash, a hell of a lot of status, a platform to perform. And yes, he's been good, but over the past couple of seasons, he's not. Like, and that's almost like you can't have this conversation about Martinelli without touching on Solis, because you see last night and against City, what a performing left-hand side gives you. It gives Saka so much more space. It's no surprise that Martin Ødegaard is playing better, because these teams can't just go, right, centre mid out, like the left centre mid, you're marking Saka, left back, you're marking Saka, left centre back, everyone push over to that side, because they've now got an actual problem on our left-hand side, their right-hand side. And there was so often last season you just see Martinelli run up to his left, the right back, stop, pass back. Whereas now we've got Solis. His first is like, I think almost that, like what Martinelli would do in 3 or 4 steps, Solis is doing in 1. And he's driving. His decision making was fantastic. There was a pass in that second half off his weak left foot where he put Calafiori in, maybe around the 60th minute. And it's just something we haven't had for a long time, because Martinelli would have ran up, stopped, played it back to Miles Lewis-Skelly, for example. And it just, I think if it was someone like, I get he's not necessarily like a Hale End player, but he's almost got some qualities of a Hale End player because he's been there for so long and he came in so young. If it was someone like Saka that was being treated like that, I might have a slightly different perspective on it. But I just think we've given him money, like his status was nothing before he joined Arsenal, and I'm just not. But maybe it's because I don't have an emotional attachment to that player in particular. I've never really bought it that I'm not that bothered. And like, if the club, I fully trust the recruitment, I fully trust Arteta, and if we've identified, because I've wanted it for so long, that left mid, and it sounds like we've pretty much got one within Solis, but ideally we'd get another forward in on that left hand side or up front. If the price to pay is Martinelli's feelings being hurt, I'm kind of all right with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a man's game. Cliche, and I don't want to dismiss people's feelings and sensitivity. You know, that's fine, because I think, like we just said about Ødegaard, you know, if you're happy, you play well and stuff like that. But there's that balance between, well, look, this is a really competitive environment. You're playing at the elite of the elite, and people aren't handing out favors and all the rest of it, and you've got to do your bit and stuff like that. So yes, we want the to manage the emotional side of things. We want the right culture and stuff like that. But also, you know, it's not. If you were to go in this environment, they're all not Mr. Nice. Once they're out there, they're the most competitive. They're not nice guys. It doesn't mean they're horrible people, but they're just like uber competitive and so on. So and I think just the inner workings of a football club, you know, we maybe assume a lot. So unless you're in there, so maybe from Ian Wright's perspective, he's thinking, well, if that was me, this is how I would feel. And that's, and he's got the passion, you know what he's like. So he's going to be, be interesting to see what Roy Keane's take would be like. Well, you know, get on with it, sort of thing. So, you know, there's the balance of how they are, and there's, you know, depends, horses for courses. had this been mid-season and not transfer window time, it's just that maybe this is the time where he's just out of the squad and we manage it, and then he comes back into the squad, and we have moments like that. But because it's the transfer season and stuff like that, so yeah, I think as always the truth lies somewhere in between. We're just fed stuff, and then people just interpret that how it is, and there's going to be different opinions. But I think this whole topic is going to be huge for the rest of the season, and I don't know if it's going to be a disruption. Because this leads me on to my next question. Is like you saw yesterday. Okay, you had Ethan and Max on the bench. Martinelli didn't make it. I'm discounting Jesus, Vieira, no, blah blah whatever. But Konsa's fit, Bruno's fit. Who comes out? Yeah. All of a sudden, which two players are coming out? Our development players, they're coming out. And then maybe Saliba comes back, so that's another one. And Timber comes back. So also, all of a sudden, those are four players, that are primary players there. So that's four people on that bench that have to come off. And great, easy to say Max and Ethan, but then there's another two from that's another two from Hincapié, Eze, Gyökeres, Madueke can be the other one. Marino.
I was going to say that. I was like, it kind of actually frustrated me yesterday that Madueke he's getting Max's minutes. Like, it does.
Max is still 16. Madueke wasn't as bad. I don't think he made some key moments and stuff like that. No. But that's a discussion for another day. The question I do want to ask. So we are looking at another attacker. There's the rumours of Alvarez, and we may touch on that later. But do you think our squad is too big? Do you think it might be, an issue throughout the season, or do you think there's enough games to go around? And as Arteta said, as long as we're winning, that keeps everyone happy.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. I think it's a problem until you stop winning. It's not a problem, but if you stop winning, it becomes a problem, potentially. But I mean, it does feel big. Like, the squad does feel big. But I mean, with what Arteta asks of the players and our injury record, it feels, with the addition of another, it feels just about workable, because you never know what's around the corner, mate. I mean, we've been sitting there like last season, you end up with injuries out of absolutely nowhere. Like, they'll go away for the international break and you might lose two, and then all of a sudden it feels like perfectly manageable. And it will mean that we're going to be putting out incredibly strong squads in the the Carabao Cup, and the early rounds of the FA Cup. And like, I'm happy with that. Like, I'm not bothered, because at that point it's not coming at the expense. They're not starting 11 players that are playing away to Port Vale, for example. They are players who need minutes and need to prove something. And I know you always say it's either better to go out early in the Carabao Cup or win it. But like, at that point, if you're actually playing like I don't know, just say for example a Jury and Timber, who historically we would have been like, oh no, he needs to rest for City away on the Sat. But like, if Ben White is the incumbent at that point and he's playing as well as he has done so far, like, you're happy with that. And it's like, I don't know, without being a total fanboy, I think I kind of rest on the fact that, like, I just trust Arteta to get it right. He seems like he's a very good manager, very intense, but he seems like he's, apart from those kind of bad apples that he kind of moved on, Ozil, Aubameyang, when he first came in, he doesn't really seem to have had a titanic fallout with a player. I can't think of one anyway. And that to me tells me that he's got a really good managerial style and a personable managerial style. And I trust him to kind of make it work. And we will get injuries. There's absolutely no getting around that. We're going to go for 4 trophies this season, and we're going to go hell for leather in the Premier League and the Champions League especially. So yeah, if it means that some people are left out for squads certain weeks, like, they still get paid, they'll still get minutes. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't necessarily. What would bother me though is kind of that point about the Madueke Dowman, and I don't want Madueke to become like this lightning rod for this. I am so hot on Max Dowman, and as everyone in the fan base is, and it just frustrates me slightly when I just want him to get the minutes, because he's such a good talent. And Madueke, personally, like, at the time I wasn't as bothered about the signing, but as the longer it goes on, it just, like, I don't know, he's just not the guy. So If it means it's kind of, I'm not too bothered about the size of the squad now, but if it starts coming at the expense of minutes for others, that's where classic Arsenal fans, isn't it? You've got to have something to slightly get annoyed about or slightly gripe about. But yeah,
I get it. I'm not so worried about the Max Madueke thing. It is what it is, and Max will have plenty of time. He's 16. So that's all you got to remember. Yes, he's a special talent. He did okay in pre-season, but didn't. He did okay in moments, but maybe in the first game, but then after that, so there's a lot on his shoulders, and Madueke he's an England international. He's got a bit of maturity, and I think people always look for his faults and they and dismiss what he does well, but at least we know what we're getting with him. The one thing with Arteta is that once you're out of favour, you're out of favour. That's one thing. So you sort of know it, and I'm struggling to recall anyone once they're
Miles
on the sidelines.
Miles?
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't see that as an out of favour thing versus just there wasn't a place for him in the team. Okay, so and they said before the midfield thing they'd been working on different formations and him playing. So I think in training, I think they're there, and so I think that was more of a development thing rather than an out of favour thing, if you see what I mean. But maybe I'm just reading too much of it. So yeah, maybe there is a bit of a Miles thing. So yeah, put it like this, but majority of the time, once you're out of favour, yeah, see you later, sort of thing. So maybe that's what's happened with Nelly. But let's see. Look, it's when as they say, this is a good problem to have. That bench is ridiculously strong. Our second string is ridiculously long, if you can call it a second string, and incredible. And look, there's 2 World Cup winners on the bench, and they made a big deal of it. Whenever they mentioned Zubimendi and Marino and World Cup winner, they even said it when they were coming on as substitutes. Welcome World Cup winner, Mikel Marino. Welcome World Cup winner, Zubimendi. And but yeah, so you got 2 World Cup winners. You got Eze, Hincapié, Gyökeres. This is a ridiculously good bench. But I think it's one of those ones. It's a good problem to have. We will need it. And then next year will be the one where we start selling well.
Well,
sorry, go on.
I was going to ask you there. You mentioned the size of the squad. And then Zubimendi, do you think there's any movement there within the next 10?
No, I don't think. And even Arteta said no, he's not going anywhere. I think the 2 that might go are Ethan and apart from those 3, the 3 that we don't mention anymore. The two top candidates are Ethan and
Martinelli.
And Martinelli, they're the ones. I think Zubi still has a place to play. I mean, a lot of people forget he had the second most minutes last year. He was a massive reason why we got to where we got. He just fatigued out. He just he's used to playing in Spain and playing in this nice weather and easy life for 50% of the games and all the rest of it. And he comes over and he was massively important. He was on course for being signing of the season, player of the season, and then just from February, March, it just hit, it hit him like a ton of bricks. But up until then, he got important goals, an important part of the team. And I think he was maybe, 1, he fatigued out, but 2, just the whole team, how they started to operate from December onwards, he was just a victim of that. So I think circumstances there, but he's maybe one again. So next year is maybe when we start to sell well. So you could imagine him moving on next year. But this year, I think he's going to be hugely important.
Sometimes sell though when the buying clubs need them most. And I see what you're saying. I'm not saying I want to sell him because of a negative reason, but his value will probably never be higher. And Real Madrid need a centre mid, and you get the best money for the best players when there is a demand. And if they came within the next kind of 10 days with a 70, 80, 80 million pound bid, I wouldn't be surprised if he was back to Spain.
If there's always a price, so everyone's got a price, sort of thing. So that's so we we'll see on that. But of the 3, say Martinelli, Waneri, and Zubimendi, I'd say it's the former 2 that we move on. So any particular highlights and lowlights from last night's game?
think highlight-wise, just the continuation of the freedom, my friend. I mean, we've seen a rejuvenated and kind of freer Arsenal against Man City, and it was nice to see that carried on and carried forward into this game. Obviously, you don't want to get carried away from like a newly promoted team at the Emirates, but I think it was just a positive. Again, another kind of checkbox in that positive about just seeing a free team. I mean, I'm very interested for your thoughts on the atmosphere. It sounded absolutely electric in that first half, especially. It sounded loud. It sounded very almost like party mode still. And I think that probably translated onto the pitch. And yeah, I think if we play like this, continue it on, we're in for one hell of a season. Because I don't know, that first, like my dad messaged me last night and he was like, God, Arsenal look good. And it was just such an enjoyable 45 minutes, especially to just watch. It was like totally like almost like we were dominating teams last year, but it didn't feel like it felt for the first 45 minutes and pretty much the first 60 minutes, 70 minutes against City. It had a different feel to it. And last year, like we've referenced that a couple of times, just kind of constantly going through the ringer with that, like the horseshoe of death and the 1-goal leads, blah blah blah. It just felt like a complete release. So I think that's my key highlight from last night. Low light, I don't think anything in particular, to be honest. Like there was nothing. I think it was almost like for your first game of the season to get off the mark. I think it was almost perfect, to be honest. Like no injuries, scored a few goals, we're able to make really good substitutions at right time. Yeah, I can't think of too many lowlights.
No, I'll start with my little lowlights. Yellow card for Gabriel, first game of the season when you're winning 3-0 against that. It's just annoying just to have that already on your. And also he's in my FPL, so it's a bit of a pain. But you know, just annoying to get a yellow card in one of these sort of nothing games. You know, you don't mind if it's blood and thunder but just 3-0. I mean, it was deserved yellow. He got done and all the rest of it. But yeah, maybe that's a bit low. One thing, you know, again, look, as you said, we played really well. There's a lot of positivities in terms of how we played. We'll get on to that. I still feel like we could shoot more from the edge of the box. You know, for the second goal. No, we did score, and actually one of my highlights was that second goal, the way Rice drove from the middle of his half. Nice interplay with Ødegaard. He carries on the run, and you're just thinking, just shoot. Now, the angle I'm at, and maybe you don't see it on TV, you don't see what's in front of him. But I felt like that was you're running on, defenders are going back. We see them all the time in the training videos before the game. That is prime time for a shot. Now, plays out wide. Zolis does his thing, cuts across. The goalkeeper can't handle it. Saka's in the right place, right time. We score. We score anyway. But I think there was a couple of times, Ødegaard a couple of times, or they want to get it onto their correct foot. I was really just pleased when Ben White had a crappy shot, but he shot with his wrong foot. But at least, like, you know, he had a shot. So I just think Zolis at least was also trying to shoot. So you see him cutting across and trying to find that space. But I just sometimes think, just have a go sometimes on the edge, and it's sort of a moot point because you know we won anyway, but maybe there is that time where you're just sort of running on and just track the ball. You never know, the goalkeeper might save it, comes out, you know. So I think we did have a couple of shots. I just like to see certain moments, you know, just have a shot. So
Maybe
for me, those were.
I think because you're certainly getting that from the likes of Ezri. Like if he's in the starting 11, I think at the minute did you see that video that came out in the week, the kind of shooting competition between him and Saka?
Yeah, I've seen elements of that, not between him and Saka, but I've seen ones before, and even Calafiori can spank him.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't see that. I didn't see the Ezri Saka one though.
It was just, I think it was like 5 shots each, and I think Ezri bagged every single one of them, and it was very good finishes. And it might just be a profile thing. Like if Ezri's in there doing it, because Declan Rice is not necessarily known for. Although he did have there was a really well worked corner in that first half. Obviously, Yover's been doing his homework over the summer. They're really good. A really good corner routine that led to like a left-footed Declan Rice that looked as if it was going in until the point that it didn't.
Yeah, that was in the 42nd, 43rd minute. It was late on in the half.
What a memory you've got! Did you just?
No,
you got it written down?
No, I've got it. It was in my notes. I've done my homework. Here you go. Oh, 47th. Rice curls one out. No, that's not right. Rice curls one just wide. 47th minute.
Really?
There we go.
Quite earlier than that, but yeah.
No, I think if that's the one, that was the closest one because my son was behind it and he said that was the closest one.
Right.
Yeah, it might be profiles. I just like maybe just have a go. Just sometimes I still think we're a bit shot shy. The other, and you're asking about the atmosphere. I mean, yeah, that was my number one highlight. I mean,
was it?
just being back at the Emirates. It's Friday night after work. People have had a couple of drinks, and the atmosphere pre-match in the bars and in around that was actually really good. I think it was very celebratory, relaxed, confident. Just really good vibes and an air of confidence,
Mm-hmm.
and sort of a pride that we're champions. Everyone going, hey, look at my golden badge and stuff like that. And everyone's got the champions on the back, and it was. I think there's a confidence there, and as I said, we've all talked about it hundreds of times. The easing of the tension, we've done it, and all the rest of it. So it was just that. And look, it's Coventry at home, so there's expectation and so on. It's first game of the season. There's always that hope, and there's a really good buzz. So yeah, it was definitely in and around the ground before the game, and actually during the first half, superb. And then we go 2-0 up, 3-0 up, and then it's your typical, everyone started chatting easy street, and you're never going to have the best atmosphere. But in all the build up and the lead up, really,
So I guess in
really
many
good.
ways,
And that,
yeah, I guess in many ways last night probably was a bit of the title like celebration, because we obviously had the parade in June, but we won it off a Man City dropping points, and then our next game was away at Palace. So it's kind of that there wasn't necessarily that home game and then we were straight into the Champions League final and the World Cup. So there wasn't necessarily that home game to centre it around, like there will be this season, because I think we finish at home this season.
Yes,
so,
we do. Yeah.
Kind of almost slightly was obviously quite a delay on it, but it was by default that a title celebration a wee bit.
Yeah, because last time we were all at the Emirates was
Burnley.
Burnley, and I just remember staring at my feet for 90 minutes with my head on the chair, just like, oh my god, what's going on? Yeah, nervous as hell. But so it was great to be back, and you'll be back for the Chelsea game, and if that goes well, the vibes will continue. But pre-match, it was as you would expect. Sun was out and so on. So yeah, great to be there. In terms of the match itself, in terms of highlights, that second goal stood out for me. I think it basically summed up a lot of how we were playing yesterday. We were direct, a lot of intent. We played at pace. There was passing. There was movement. We'll touch on Zolis now in a second, and then our star player, him and Ødegaard, were involved. And it was just forward thinking, and then it was just a lovely move all around. So so much good to talk about that. And look, we've mentioned it a few times, so we can't not talk about it. So Zolis's performance, you were impressed.
Very much so. I think it's one of those ones. It's like the benefit of not knowing. Like there's the benefit of getting the Brunos and the Konsas in, because you know what you're getting. But it's just so refreshing for a player like that to come in from a league that you don't watch, and a national team that you don't really watch, and just be surprised at how effective they are and how front-footed they are and direct they are. It seems like I said it earlier, but it seems like for every Martinelli touch, he's taken half the amount of touches to drive it as man. And he's always been kind of compared to the Leo Trossard, but he looks like, I don't know, it's like a baby Sanchez a little bit in terms of the intensity he goes at his player at. Like, if we can get half of, or even half of what Sanchez gave us, it just looks like such a good bit of business, a really smart bit of business. I seen someone last night calling him not Vinny Junior but Vinny Senior. And to be honest, if he continues like this, I think we're on to an absolute winner. And it's like we touched on a little bit earlier. It's just that it's what he gives you, but it's also the questions he puts in the opposition's mind. They can no longer just put everyone onto the left side of their team to mark Saka and mark Ødegaard or Ezri, whoever might have been in that position. We've now, in him and Calafiori, who it looks like 2 games in, admittedly, it looks like there is a bit of a relationship there. And if they now have to equally pay as much attention to our left-hand side, it just gives so much more space to these players. It gives Havertz an extra few yards. It gives Ødegaard an extra few yards. And it's probably no coincidence that he's come in offered a really big threat in the couple of games that he's well, I say big in the couple of games he played well in pre-season. He ended up with 5 or 6 assists or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's probably no coincidence that we're sitting there talking about a rejuvenated Ødegaard. And for me, I think Saka's going to have a really good season because they've just got more space. They've got more options. They're no longer looking directly to Saka as a kind of main attacking outlet. They've got someone on the left. And I think, and Miles as well, offering something. Drop of the shoulder. We've seen it in the Community Shield, his ball carrying ability. It just feels like a far more balanced team this season compared to sometimes last year we felt slightly awkward and a little bit as if we were. Was that on you go?
Well, we're always right-hand side dominant, and you lean into that. The worse you are, you default to who you are under pressure, as they say in your default that. So we would default to right-hand side because also our left-hand side wasn't functioning. We'd default to right-hand side, but even the right-hand side wasn't really functioning. And that's just where every leans to. It's interesting you say that because I was thinking the same. Like yesterday was great. We would be breaking through the middle, and they had options either side, and so then the defenders don't know who to cover because do I go out to Saka? Well, you got Zolis in space, or do I go to Zolis and they go to Saka? And then like you say the partnerships are working really well. So you said Calafiori and Zolis working really well from the beginning, and they combined for the first goal. And this was the other aspect. Zolis, he does the hard yards as well. So it's not like he's just a one-way merchant. You'll see him on the edge of the box. He was tackling and forced the error to get the goal. Then Calafiori doesn't even think, quick, gets it into the middle. Havertz, with a beautiful first-time sweeping finish, and in the first, when was it? He scored in the 15th minute. I think that was his first touch, but just the way he just stroked it in, and it looks all very easy, but that is actually a high quality goal. So yeah, you're right. He does make it easier. I mean, saying that, yesterday we were still 45% down the right-hand side, 26% down the left, and 29% down the middle. But you could just tell on the pitch, he just gave us more. And then what he would do, again, I don't think you would have seen this so much on TV. I mean, Havertz's movement yesterday was super. Havertz had a low-key, really good game. But he would be dropping deep, coming into midfield. So Zolis would then be the target man. He would come in off the left and be up front, and then Calafiori would be, outside left, or if Zolis is wide left, and Calafiori would be inside left, or he would actually come in and partner up with Havertz at times. So his movement, and there was even one time where he even went from left to right and picked up a pass in the right hand, inside right channel sort of thing. So, and just watching it, and you'll appreciate it against Chelsea. The caveat is Coventry, and they must have stiff necks galore, all of them, because they were just they didn't know who to follow, where to go, because our movement from Havertz, from Calafiori, from White, from Saka, from Ødegaard, from Zolis was just so good. Going to spaces, we had the areas, but they were all over the place, and no one was really, really, really fixed. And he allows that to happen. Shall we say? Like, I love what you're saying about what Martinelli offers versus what Zolis offers, and so you got equal danger. So therefore, you don't know, you don't know who to mark, because if you go and cover that side, we'll go this side, and look, maybe after the previous 2 games we'll come up against tougher opposition, and we'll see how he fares. But for now, he gives us something, and as you said, and the other thing, the crowd were really reacting to him. So that was another thing in the crowd. The crowd were, maybe there's a lot of people not expecting it. Not a lot of the people that actually go as season ticket holders or go to the games aren't so into the weeds, aren't into the details, etc., like we do for this. And so they're seeing this for the first time, and maybe even alluded to, wow, he's pretty good. This, we thought, 35 million, Belgian league, Greek, all right, whatever. And it's like, and all of a sudden, every time, and everyone said, give it to Zoli. And as soon as he gets the ball, suddenly you get that excitement level that you get with Saka and stuff like that. And it's, just having that threat on both wings. And the combination play is superb.
Yeah, and it's almost like you could almost forgive him for having a little bit of a inferiority complex, or like coming in Belgian league, kind of not a tier 1 national nation, coming into the Premier League champions to play with really, really, really elite players. But he's just been a total breath. He doesn't look phased in any way. Like, I think a couple of shots in the first half, and it wasn't as though he was like, right, I'm just gonna. I don't know. I'd be interested if you got this impression from the stadium. But I think in the first half he had a couple of shots, and then it wasn't as if like he just shooting was going to be his thing. I think the next time he laid it off to Declan Rice, so it was like his decision making in these kind of moments was really, really impressive. There was a shot in the second half, I think after a corner, and it was a drill.
Yeah, no, hit it so well down the middle.
And his technique's obviously really, really, really good to enable him to do that, because it wasn't an easy chance. And I just think, like, there would completely forgivable if he was to come in and be like, look, for our first few games of my first season, I'm going to just get my feet under the table and I'm going to play.
And just lay it off.
I'm going to lay it off.
Yeah, lay it off. Give it to someone else.
Exactly.
Give it to someone
or
else.
Equally, he's going to he's going to go down the other route, and he's going to be like, oh, I need to, like, I'm coming from Belgium. They don't know me. I need to
try too hard.
Try to impress. But he's got that kind of really good middle ground of both, which is, I think if he continues it, and like I said at the start, like, he's brilliant. I just treat him with a little bit, because he's not played at this intensity, and Arteta, Premier League's the most intense league in the world, the most physical, and Arteta is probably the most intense manager now within the league as well. So just I'd like to see him being able to do this in and around March time, because I know last season Madueke started really, really, really hot, like when he came in for Saka, and he's fallen away. So I don't think Solis will do that. There's something about him. He just seems to, I know he's quite young, but he seems to play with this level of maturity about he knows when to pass. I referenced that pass into Calafiori off his left foot in the second half. It's just something we haven't seen before, or not in a long time anyway. And it's so exciting for someone to just basically come out of nowhere. Like, I hadn't a clue who he was until he basically rocked up in those signing videos. And for someone to come out of nowhere and hit the ground running like that, it's just so positive for what we've got.
Yeah, and I think he summed up a lot of who we were yesterday, like him and Ødegaard and Saka and Havertz. It's just the intent. There was a lot of really good intent, and we're doing things at pace. Everything seemed to be sped up, and everyone was moving forward. They were driving forward, and you could see it from the back. So from Raya was not dropping the ball at the feet, putting it, that thing he does, rolling it. No, he would be literally hands. I don't think I saw once yesterday where he had it under his feet. That thing he used to do a lot of the time, trying to draw in the press sort of thing. And he was quick, just roll it out. And maybe this is the opposition, because I think Coventry, they were a bit limited, and I felt they were confused in what their tactics were, because they didn't press high, but they didn't low block. I think they were trying to play some football, but they were limited in what they, and we were just too good. And I think they found it very difficult of note. And so because of that, we didn't really have a style where we were dominating like the horseshoe of death, so like just pushing them back. We would dominate in the transitions, in the speed, in what we did. So it was sort of quite interesting, and it will be interesting to see when we do come against different teams who maybe have slightly different tactics, and maybe Coventry were the perfect team for us. Well, City were the perfect team to play against last week. Coventry were the perfect this week. So maybe it's more about us than them. But it was interesting how we approached that, but there was just seemed to be an intent, and I think that we had the fast start, which we've all been crying out for, which makes a difference. We get that early goal in 15 minutes, and then we get the follow up goal, 30, 35 minutes, and I just thought just that the way we went about the game, I think that was great all over the pitch, and the players that we've talked about. Solis and Saka and Ødegaard were massive parts of that. So it was nice to see, and hope it's what we do for the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. And a word on Coventry. I thought they were actually. I mean, you could tell they were a newly promoted team, but I thought they were all right. Like I certainly seen, especially in the second half. It might be in a game state thing. We obviously weren't going for it, and we were starting to make subs around that point. But there's a few attacks, and certainly I think. Certainly gave from the bits of the second half that I can remember, because admittedly I did fall asleep for a bit, but I've seen enough from them to suggest that they might actually be okay this season. And I think as part of the predictions I said they would stay up, and I think if they can get enough games where they play like that for the periods of the second half, if they do that in enough games, I think they will be safe. One thing they will need to do though is their keeper to be far better, because I think he had a bit of a He looked like a bit of a rabbit in the headlights. Like, I think for our second goal, definitely our third, he could have probably done a wee bit better.
Well, the second one he palmed it out. That's going across. Yeah, maybe you expect your keeper to do better. Don't know, and he palmed it into Saka's feet. No, for the third goal, it was a complete mishit. So all his body movements going one way, and he puts his arm out, and so yeah, maybe he got enough of a hand to it, and maybe he tipped it away. But it's that one thing. All his weight is going to the right, and he's trying to stretch out his left hand, and you just didn't have the strength there. But you feel like he's
it looked as on the TV he still could have probably done a wee bit better. I know inertia was going one way, but like it still felt as if he had a half-arsed it.
Yeah, I'm sure he didn't half-arse it, but yeah, maybe he could have done better. But and Arteta was happy with it. He said obviously it was a great result, but the manner we started the game, the domination, clarity, understanding, and growth in the game was really impressive. It was great because the start is always tricky. We played a team that had a long time to prepare as well, and they are really good at what they do. But again, I was really impressed with the result. And yeah, I was worried, like they get a corner in the first minute, and then there was this stat where they scored 27 goals from set pieces last season. So I was thinking, oh great, could you imagine, like just set up for that? But no, they were limited. I think we were just too good for them. The way everything about us, and they just had no answers, and you can't really fault them for that. That's more about us, and they'll have their day later on in the season and so on. But and just a couple of more in terms of the game, a couple of sort of I wanted to say a shout out to MLS again. Another impressive performance. He did one of those reverse passes in the second half. It was just overhit to Calafiori. It's a shame because that was going to be him squaring it to someone. But he looked solid, and even if Bruno is fit, I don't know. I can't see him coming out. And look, again, we talked about his mentality. For someone so young to come in, and he's all he can do is make it hard for the manager to drop him. And he had a good performance again yesterday.
100%, and he offers like such a good balance as well. Like with if Bruno does come in, he's right-footed in that left centre mid space. It feels more natural having, and maybe that is probably another thing about the left-hand side, about his access in those spaces. Like his natural is to kind of let the ball roll across him and play it out. So it might only be getting out there a second faster, but at that level it makes such a difference, and it feels like we're a much more balanced team. Especially in obviously we're only one game into the season, but the first couple of games, I'm including the City one. And almost going back to the Fulham game last season, like where he came into the team and then pretty much didn't leave it. Started the Champions League final. It feels like we're a lot more balanced in there with that left-footed profile and that part of the team. So yeah, I was absolutely like, there is that kind of tension between being a good selling club, but then with that, you're now like, teams aren't going to want your deadwood, and they're not going to come in and spend 50 million on Fabio Vieira, even though we'd absolutely love them to. Probably most notably because we're not Man City. And I appreciate that you are gonna need to sell some darlings, but I never wanted to lose him. Like, he's an Arsenal boy. He offers so much in that midfield. He's an incredible talent. He carries the ball incredibly well. He's got a couple of goals in the pre-season, or one goal at least. And yeah, when Arteta came out on Thursday and said 100%, or Friday 100% that he's staying, it gave me a big smile.
Yeah, no, he's good. And I think yesterday he said he had the most touches, played the most passes, won the most duels, joint with Havertz, won the most free kicks, and regained possession more times than any other player last night. So there's value in that kid. And again, you forget he's like 19. So long may it continue. And I think the final sort of talking point last night, and an interesting one, that Gyökeres didn't get on the pitch at all, which I was surprised. And more not about him getting on the pitch for minutes, more a case of, can Havertz have a bit of a rest? Again, he's a bit like Ben White. He doesn't know how to... Well, it feels like he doesn't know how to ease up, because then he was running around again quite a lot until the last minute. But, does that sort of, not ring any bells, any concerns why that wouldn't be? Or is it just a case of other players like Marino need minutes more, and Gyökeres has had pre-season and stuff? So, yeah. A concern, or just one of those things.
A
Can
concern
only make so
or-
many subs.
A concern in terms of like leaving.
Well, no. But it's just interesting that he didn't even get on the pitch. You'd expect a Coventry easy game, his old club. I don't know, just you can only make so many subs, and he's the one that didn't make it today.
Yeah. Nah, not particularly concerning, to be honest. I mean, you probably wouldn't be concerned if we weren't in the transfer window. Like, we all prefer Havertz in the 9. I guess maybe if Havertz would have came off and Marino goes up top, then you're like, oh, you're very visibly third choice or fourth choice, whatever it is. Then maybe, but nah, I'm not. Yeah, he's not. He's one of those killer type footballers as well. Like if he gets on, he doesn't strike me as the type of person who's going to sulk. So he's got one thing he does have, like, is an elite mentality, a cold killer instinct about him. So if he is playing second fiddle, maybe third fiddle for that 9, I wouldn't have any concerns about him kind of like coming in and then kind of throwing his toys out the pram or not trying as hard. I think we're going to get that from him. So yeah, not particularly concerned, Tabs, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some people said he didn't even warm up, so maybe he's got a bit of knock. He's nursing something, so he's there in break glass in case of emergency type stuff. And they said we can only make 5 subs. I'm happy with Nkapio coming on for Calafiori. Want to get Rice off the pitch. Want to get Saka off the pitch. So that's fine. Zubimendi and Marino need a few more minutes because they've had a limited pre-season. So I think there's enough there just to say, look, there's only so many subs. Again, for me, it's not about him getting minutes. It was more a case of resting Havertz, and that's why I would have liked to have seen him. But yeah, nothing really there. So that's that. So yeah, I mean, it was a controlled, professional win. Early goals, strong rotation. We were defensively good. Managed the second half with maturity. Seems like basically a repeat of what we did against City. So we've got 9-10 days till Villa, so more times to get some fitness in. I wouldn't be surprised if we did a behind closed doors friendly just for some players, the likes of Konsa, likes of Marino, likes of Zubimendi, and yeah, we've got time for players to get fit. Watch everyone else in the Premier League shit the bed, and we go against Villa next Monday. But yeah, all very positive. Okay, so before we get on to 3-word reviews and just a little bit of transfer chat, usual reminder, if you'd like to subscribe, follow, rate, comment, appreciate that on the various channels, on Spotify, I did this 100 times and I keep forgetting. Spotify, Apple, on YouTube, at The Grove AFC is much appreciated, and it's very easy to do and very quick to do. And if you've done it already, thank you very much. And if you haven't, go and do that now. I also want to make you aware that we will also be launching a new podcast on Monday called After Review, where the boy, Gianluca, my son, and I will be reviewing the weekend's Premier League action, results, goals, VAR, major incidents, stupid stuff, laughing at our rivals. Thank you, Man United, and the like, all with a bit of an Arsenal lens. It will be shorter, hopefully, please, punchier, but in our usual style with a bit of a mix of analysis, a bit of irreverence, and so on. So with a slight father and son dynamic. So keep an ear out for that. Let us know what you think. And yeah, as I said, it looks like the first episode we've already got someone to laugh at, which makes it all the better.
I love the
there we go. So that we
I love the title
Monday
with the the West Ham game.
Yeah. So I need to be updating the intro music to include that part of the commentary into the intro music. So yeah, after review. So basically, I had the name of a podcast, and I just didn't know what to do with it. So there you go. There we go. Okay, so 3-word reviews. For those new to the podcast, this is where after the match I send out just a request on the socials just to get the feel, how the fans are feeling post game, just to get a review of the match, what their thoughts are. In 3 words, no more, no less. And it amazes me how much people still struggle with that concept. But there we go. And whilst I'm calling them out, Andy, if you can think of one, there we go. Right. So Blue Sky, we had Mitch, friend of the pod who's been on here, Dr. Mitch, biomechanic and sports science specialist. Met him for a drink last night. So hello, Mitch. He goes, Friday Night Lights, which I think is a reference to an American football.
Yeah.
An American football TV show from the 90s about a team that used to play on Friday nights and all they did was win, or tried to win anyway. So there we go. Joshua Barlow, so much fun. PFE Moon, dominant champions win. Jibawaki, bang, bang, bang. Mr. C. the Gooner, Friday Night Cruise. And Scotty. This is, he was cheating here. Stress-free, which is a hyphen. I'm sure it's not hyphenated. Stress-free wins rule. Okay, threads. Terry B's 666. Have that, Frank. I like that. Rigsby. I think we're going to see this one a lot. Quantum of Azolis. The Johnny Man, 37 to go. This was my favourite. Chapper's Delight. Frank's hair's fucked. So I think they were showing pictures. They were showing pictures of it from him behind, and he's starting to get a bit of a bald patch around the back and so on. So not something that me and you can speak too much about. Ryan Charles 7, 60 million Drain down. Jesus, I can't even read. Okay, Hath 100, normal service resumed, indeed. Sean M. Lucas 14, professional win. Next, Stigger of the 6, Dynasty starts now. Matty Rambo shoots, league top scorers. Yep. Steve K. drums, wham bam boom. Sam 13 draws, we're so back, we are indeed. PR Wood, rejuvenated Benny Blanco. Yeah. Guna Gale. I know what he's saying, even though I'm not sure how he's saying it. No in Noni. Yeah. Let's see how the season pans out. Sugianto Lu, all open play. It would have been funny, though, if we did score a set-piece goal, but not to be. But and I noticed we did mix things up set-piece-wise. We were going short a few times, and it almost worked. We and some of our other ones, so it's nice to see us mixing it up. Foodie Nick, 17. Such squad depth. Christy Lur 55, better without injuries. Yeah, no shit. Jimmy Ottaway, Zolis scares defenders. He does indeed. And this was also one of my favourites. Dominic Brandel 30, professional ass whooping. Okay. Sean L. Landry, top of the table. We are indeed. And Jay Miking, we are back. Okay. Onto the Grove WhatsApp group. Matt, Stacey, champions are back. Noel Mickedy, Invincibles Part 2, ? Let's hope so. It starts with a win, so that's the way to do it. Alex Monroe, nice kickabout. Rahima thinks we're going back to back. And then Moz, Martinelli, ? Zolis, Solis. Very nice one, playing words. And so mine was pace, power, intent. Any 3 words from you?
I like the Dynasty starts now. I like that one. There's a lot of talk about Dynasty starting. What I go? Dominant, professional, effective.
Indeed it was. Okay. Leeds have beat Forest 1-0. I think Sunderland drew 1-1 with Ipswich, and Everton beat Palace 2-0. So there we go. I think that's... Oh, was it 2-1? Okay. And West Ham, oh dear, lost 2-1 at home to Charlton. Look at that. Wow. And Kelty Hearts 3, Dumbarton 1. There you go. Right. Anyway, I'm not going to do that.
Is your thing in a different time zone? Because the West Ham game's 2 each full time.
Is it 2-2?
2 each, yeah.
Wow. Okay. I thought that's it full time. Are you sure that goal's not been disallowed for VAR?
Yeah, it was a pen. 93rd minute.
Ipswich won 2-1. Sorry, Ipswich won 2-1. Are you talking about West Ham?
West Ham 2 each, 2-2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
got it here. Yeah, no. Oh, no. West Ham 1, Charlton 2. I think you're. It must be. I guess it got disallowed.
Really, it says like right now.
Yeah, I'm watching people shake hands, and it said 2-1.
Really? Weird.
Yeah. And then there we go. Yeah, Ipswich. Sunderland lost in the last minute. Right. Anyway, by the time you're listening to this, if you're listening to this, all this has happened. You know this already. So we're talking
that
about
I'm
it.
right.
Jesus. No. All right. Anyway, we'll see. Right. Anyway, Alvarez. So let's just a little bit of transfer talk. Do we bother? He obviously seems to want to leave Atletico Madrid. He obviously wants to go to Barcelona. Atletico Madrid do not want to sell him to Barcelona. Is this something we should pursue, or should we think, if you're not interested in coming to us, we're second choice? I'd rather you not.
A hell of a good way to flip a player. Like if Atletico Madrid don't want to sell him to Barcelona, I'm sure we could. Like we don't seem to be that arsed. In terms of the player, I would.
Yeah, we're buying for 100 and selling for 30. There we go. We'll do the reverse City.
Do we need him? Personally, yes, I think so. I mean, you know my opinions on Gyökeres. I'm not hot on him, and I cannot put my season in Kai Havertz's breakable legs. So, yes, I think I would go Alvarez in, and as part of that, I mean, I don't know, you're kind of dealing in fantasy land here a wee bit, but I think earlier on in the window there was discussions about Alvarez in and Gyökeres going the other way with some money changing hands. If that is an option, I would do it 100%. I think Alvarez is a brilliant player. I think he would offer us something that we don't have. There was certainly we obviously have our own opinions on Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher, but they were going pretty big last night on needing an elite forward. I think we do still need something. I would prefer that it was on the left, but there was I think it was a Hand of Arsenal tweet the other day, or Miguel Delaney actually, saying about the club don't think the options that are currently out there on the left wing market are better than Martinelli, which is slightly at odds with how we then treat Martinelli. So I don't know what's going on there. Maybe we think Alvarez can play on the left potentially. But yeah, to be honest, if it's a yes or no for me, it's a yes.
Yeah, Eduardo Burgos, I don't know who he is. Julian Alvarez remains focused on his departure. The Barcelona option is completely ruled out, and Arsenal emerges as a safe passage on deadline day. Mikel Arteta in contact with the player. I don't know if he's tier 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know where he is, but I'm just sort of reading this from a Gunners Reddit post. I'm 50-50 on it in terms of the quality, what he did. I remember watching him when Atletico came to the Emirates in the group stages, and he stood out. He was their player, and he was one long distance shot from them taking the lead, and then all of a sudden we went bang, 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 bang. So he was the clear standout. Does he want to come back to the UK? There's a lot of the personal side of things as well that we don't know about. I'm 50-50. He does want to be at Arsenal, but he wants to be away from Atletico Madrid. And we get him for a season and then flip into Barcelona. Yeah, that's fine. I prefer that to the Yildiz option, even though Yildiz is more of a left wing, left attack. Spalletti, the Juve manager, didn't equivocally say he's not leaving. He was like, we want to keep him, but you never know, blah, 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 right price, right there. My issue is his chronic, patellar tendonitis, his knee injury. That's a concern. Speaking with Mitch yesterday, it's not something that gets better easily, sort of thing, and it's more likely to be a recurring thing. So for someone who's 20, 21, 22, he's a young player, sort of thing. So it's not like you can ride it out for a couple of seasons. Do you want to bring that into your club? So I don't know. I wouldn't want Yildiz. Alvarez, quality, if we can get Nelly going the other direction, wouldn't surprise me. There was even talk of Gyökeres in Barcelona, but I don't know if that's just talk, and fine, whatever. I wouldn't want to get rid of Gyökeres. I still think we need, as much as we joke as Marino being the best striker in the world, he's backup option. He's not like, you put him in there as a centre forward. He's a midfielder who can play centre forward. That type of thing. And doing what he does for Spain is one thing on the international scene. Doing that, in the Premier League or in the Champions League, don't know. But I would bring Alvarez and keep Gyökeres in and take it from there. But let's see.
How do you balance that with three potentially 4-4.
It's not my problem.
Right.
Not my problem. Not my problem. You get enough good players in, and Arteta can figure it out, and it'll be a problem for next season. And you have it for this season, and then you sell some players next season, and there we go. So, yeah, I don't know how he balances it. We would make it work somehow, and the alternative is you wait till winter. The winter window, you see maybe where Krupi is, that becomes an option.
Genuine question: what is his injury? What is?
I don't know. I could look it up if I could be.
Like, why don't we just? Like, I know it never. It just.
Yeah, no, but you know what you don't, insurance reasons. You just don't buy injured players because you don't know.
Because that's something that kind of came to mind yesterday when the Liverpool links to Yankuba Minta were kind of floating around. He's injured. He got injured last week. And
yeah,
I was like, why don't we just go and get Krupi? Like, obviously, we need him right now. And like,
wait, he's out for a couple of months, was it?
I think
Arsenal lineup, winter transfer smooth. Yeah. So he's out for 3 to 4 months. So it's 3 to 4 months. It's not a minor injury when you're that. Foot injury. So okay, so it seemed like a freak injury when he was taking a shot in training. It will be a large chunk of the Europa campaign. Huge blow. Doesn't say what the injury is like when it happened July 30th. He underwent surgery. So this is why it's taking so long. He's undergone the surgery. So yeah, a bit like the Mikel Merino one. You know, he's obviously broken a bone or something like that. More than likely undergo surgery, and it's. Yeah, so again, likely to recover fine, but yeah, you cannot. The insurance on a player, you're just not going to get it if you sign him knowing he's injured. Then you're just not going to get covered for that injury, sort of thing. So, yeah, it's very rare that these things. It's very rare. Well, unless your name's Kim Kallstrom, it's very rare to get transferred with an injury. So
yeah, because it's just
yeah,
it's just that Yankuba Minta link yesterday to Liverpool. It just made me think. I was like, I wonder why, like, because you just don't ever see it, and maybe it is that insurance reason and kind of liabilities and stuff like that. But and obviously most clubs are buying players because they need to come in and play now, and you're not getting that with an injured player. But it just seemed like something that we don't need. Like, I think buying Alvarez would be good, but I don't necessarily think we'd need a 9. And it just made me think about Krupi and whether it's something that could be explored, but I can see the reasons why not.
Yeah, well, I said maybe we save it for the winter. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? That's in Berta and Arteta and the rest of the Arsenal management we trust. Right, there we go. Thank you for that, Andy. Thanks for joining me this Saturday afternoon. Yeah, appreciate it.
Not a problem, my friend. I'm going out for dinner in about half an hour, 45 minutes time. So time to get my hair done, get out the door.
Yeah, polish the dome, and away we go. And I'm going to be helping my daughter with some A-level work whilst hate watching Tottenham. Come on, you bees! Come on, you bees! Well, look. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for getting involved. Thanks for the 3-word reviews. As you can follow us on Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, at The Grove AFC. Like, subscribe, rate, comment, all that jazz. Appreciate it, notice it, and it makes a difference. As I said, our new pod should be coming out on Monday if my son gets his A into G. Looking back at the weekend's fixtures, and then we will do a main pod towards the end of the week where we will preview our 3-0 victory against Aston Villa, who hopefully will be playing in their new sky blue home kit. Right, there we go. There we go. So thank you for listening. We go again, 1 down, 37 to go. Let the games begin. Until the next time, come on you Gunners.